Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. For today's video, we are going to grade every single NBA team's NBA offseason. So, obviously, with that being said, like, certain trades could still happen at this point. But for me, you know, I'm basing my grading system off of, like, okay, there was, like, this 1 week, 2 week period where free agency was really hot. You know, trades were flying around. Players were just drafted and stuff. To me, that's the big deal. It's like who can you convince to come to your team over, you know, going to somebody else's team? But obviously trades are still very important, but I just think that they're their own like entity at this point, if that makes sense. So yes, before we get going on today's video, if you guys don't mind dropping a like, I've been saying 2,000 likes a video. You guys have been killing that goal, man. So 2,500 likes for today's video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel, as we are so close to 300,000 subscribers, and you guys are awesome for showing that crispy support each and every day. If you guys want to give me like your grading before I start this video right here, feel free to do that in the comment section below, just because I'm curious how it's going to actually relate to my, and you know, my bitch ass grading system. Man, you know, Principal Crispy up in here. I can be very hard, bro. I got very tough grading scale and everything. So here we go. Let's get going on it. The first team we have is the Atlanta Hawks. So reportedly added players: Jalen Johnson, Sharif Cooper. Free agency, they got Solomon Hill, Gordon Dieng, Trae Young extension, John Collins extension, Lou Williams re-signed, and they also traded for DeLon Wright. They lost Chris Dunn and Bruno Fernando. That's the damn, I'm going to say, oh man, I'm going to say an A-. That is an A-. Getting Trae Young back's great. Obviously, well, on the extension, John Collins re-signing at a pretty good price, I would say, is fantastic. I actually love their draft, and DeLon Wright trades obviously is fantastic. Because I think DeLon Wright's going to fit in perfectly next to Trae Young. But the only reason I'm keeping him from an absolute, like, A+ is just because, in my mind, they didn't, like, go out there and sign, like, a game changer. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got ball players out there. But I'm going to say what I say, A-. I feel like that feels about right, man. I love the Jalen Johnson, Sharif Cooper picks, by the way. Like, potentially be an A+ very damn soon. We got the Boston Celtics. So they drafted Juhan Begarin. They got Enes Kanter. They got Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Chris Dunn, Bruno Fernando. They traded Kemba Walker, Tristan Thompson, Evan Fournier. They lost a free agency and Semi Ojeleye. I'm going to be honest, man. Shit's a damn F-, bro. I would say in Brad Stevens' first offseason, it's been very disappointing. And obviously losing like Kemba Walker's not that big a deal because he just didn't really fit in with the team anyway. Evan Fournier, I mean, they lost some second round picks to trade from the Magic last season. But overall, I don't really like the like Al Horford's back. It's cool, I guess. Josh Richardson, I don't think is better than Evan Fournier. I'm not happy with it, man. Like Brad Stevens, I thought he was going to make a big time splash, do a big time move. It could still happen, obviously. But for a team that was 500 last season, and I know you Celtics fans really, really like, you know, are highly of your basketball team, man. I just wasn't impressed with the moves they've made thus far, so I'm going to say F-. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets. They got Cam Thomas, other dudes in the draft. Got James Johnson, Patty Mills, Javon Carter, traded Landry Shamet, Dinwiddie, and they lost Jeff Green. So, for the Nets, I'm going to give this probably a B. I love the Cam Thomas draft pick. Like, he's just going to be a really good bench player for them. Duron Sharpe is nice. Now, obviously, he's a rookie center, so I don't know if that guy like that's going to be able to really help right away. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't really address the center position, or at least interior depth, in a little bit better way, or maybe some defense. I mean, James Johnson's fine, but he's a bit over the hill. Patty Mills is a great signing, by the way. But overall, man, like, I would have liked them to see them trade away DeAndre Jordan, Nicholas Claxton's cool. They got Blake Griffin, obviously, man. But just a little bit something extra at the center spot that's not a rookie and Duron Sharpe. So I'm going to say a B, but overall, pretty good offseason for a team that's as deep as the Brooklyn Nets is. Okay, next up, we have the Charlotte Hornets. They got James Bouknight, Kai Jones, JT Thor, Scotty Lewis, Ish Smith, Kelly Oubre, and Mason Plumlee via trade. Lost Devontae Graham and, of course, Cody Zeller. I'm going to give this one, I'm going to also give it a B. Some of the signings were really nice. Kelly Oubre was, I mean, the fact that they got him to go to Charlotte, it's fantastic. The draft was great. I don't really dislike any of these draft picks at all. Mason Plumlee's fine. I think he's a bit better than Cody Zeller is. Cody Zeller's, like, he has his moments, but he's pretty damn average. I don't think as far as getting, like, the center of the future, they clearly didn't do that with Mason Plumlee. He's more so of, like, a short-term, probably 2-year type of, like, filler for the team. I was really hoping for, like, Rashawn Holmes or Montrezl Harrell, somebody like that, man. But overall, not a bad offseason. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident in that grade. Devontae Graham, not a big deal they lost him, to be honest. I mean, well, sign and trade, obviously, but they got some other really good guards on that team anyway, man. And I also think they lost Malik Monk, which is not updated in here, so yeah. We also got to the Chicago Bulls. Okay, man, so for me, I am personally giving the Chicago Bulls an A+. And the reason I say that is because free agency this year was not that deep. It was not that deep of a free agent class. And the Bulls were able to go out there and kind of go all into the moves they made, being able to get Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan. Caruso is a nice pickup. I think AO, it may be a bit of a project, probably a few seasons away, but nonetheless can be pretty good. They didn't really lose all that much. Daniel Tice is nice. That rhymes. And Tomas Satoransky's always been like a serviceable guard in the NBA. Garrett Temple's fine too. But overall, man, like, if the Bulls would not have made any significant moves and would have went into the season with their current roster or what they had, I would have given them an F. But they did exactly what they needed to do in a free agent class that wasn't that deep. They got some of the most sought out names, so that's an A+. They did fantastic, and I think it's safe to say that, you know, maybe we don't all agree that they're going to win a championship with this roster, but damn, they're going to be competitive and fun to watch, and sometimes that's just good enough. Okay, next up we have the Cleveland Cavaliers getting Evan Mobley, Jared Allen to the extension, and they traded for Ricky Rubio, and they traded away Taurean Prince. For me, that's I'm going to say an A- offseason. Evan Mobley was the guy at number 3, no doubt. Getting Jared Allen to the extension is nice. We got to see how that's going to be with Evan Mobley, but Jared Allen's contract is pretty damn solid as is. And Rubio is just a good veteran to have. Like, there ain't nothing wrong with Rubio. I don't know if he's going to be there long term, but we'll see about that. I think, what I say, A-. I think the only thing keeping me from going to a straight A is that I think at this point you got to get rid of Kevin Love. It's going to be so sloppy having him on the team now. It's going to be weird. And I would like to see them address that before the season starts. So A-, I'm going to give them an A if that happens. But, yeah, man. Okay, next up we have the Dallas Mavericks. And they drafted nobody. Sorry, couldn't make me laugh. Free agency, Tim Hardaway, Boban re-signing, Moses Brown trade. This is a D. And the only thing keeping it from D- range is I actually really like the Moses Brown trade. I think he's got a lot of potential. He was nice on the OKC Thunder. Maybe a little bit of inflated stats due to being on a bad team, but overall I think I love his potential. And Tim Hardaway obviously is fine, but as far as us knowing going into the offseason that Luka Doncic was kind of like, hey, are you going to like give me some other dudes to play with? Can we trade Kristaps or something? And they didn't really address anything about getting better players next to Luka. Maybe everything Lucas said was just cap and everything, and it's going to be maybe a little bit of a long-term process. But, yeah, the Mavericks, I don't really think they made a big-time splash, so I'm going to say a D, guys. I'm going to say a D. Okay, next up we have the Denver Nuggets, and they got Nashawn Highland with their draft pick. They re-signed Will Barton, JaMychal Green, Jeff Green, traded for nobody, and they lost JaVale McGee. Not that big a deal. I hope that actually opens up some more minutes for Bobo to play now. Hopefully it definitely should. I'm going to give this one like a C. I don't think I think it was pretty average, getting some of the role players back. I wasn't a big fan of the Will Barton signing because I thought his contract, $32 million for a guy that's been injury prone, not the greatest, but Nashawn Highland was a pretty good draft pick, so I'm going to say probably a C, borderline C- because another team that, you know, they have the MVP on their squad and everything, but didn't really do too much to add too much to the team. But obviously just getting Jamal Murray back from injury is going to be big time. Okay. Next up, we have my Detroit Pistons, and we drafted Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Livers, Luka Garza, and Balsa Kaprizza. And free agents, we got Kelly Olynyk, Corey Joseph, Trey Lyles, Saban Lee, and we trade for nobody. I'm going to say overall, I'm going to say a B+. I'm going to say a B+. I love what we did with the draft. You know, despite what people want to say about Jalen Green or Cade, I'm happy with Cade Cunningham. I feel like our draft was epic, getting Isaiah Livers and also Luka out there was fantastic. You know, in free agency, I mean, I'm happy we didn't like shell out too much crazy ass money. You know, all things considered, Kelly Olynyk, for about $12 million a season, he was 19 points and 6 rebound guy for the Houston Rockets. So I think he does that next year, probably not. But to add some, you know, adds a stretch big to the team. Corey Joseph's fine. I love Saban Lee. Trey Lyles is a basketball player. But yeah, and we lost Mason Plumlee and Wayne Ellington, both guys that really had no business being on the Pistons anyway. So I'm gonna give it a solid B, man. I'm gonna say a B actually. I think that's why I said B. Maybe I said a B+. But and the reason is because like the draft kind of went as expected. So I think everybody had Cade going number 1, to be quite honest. Okay, next up we have the Golden State Warriors, and they got Kuminga, Moses Moody. They also got Otto Porter in free agency with Nemanja Bjelica, traded for nobody, lost Kent Bazemore, Kelly Oubre. I am going to give them an A. I thought the Golden State Warriors had a absolutely stellar offseason. I felt like both of these rookies they got in time are going to be able to help out the current squad, but also at the same time, you know, when Curry and Clay and Draymond's ready to retire or get traded or whatever, I'm not saying that's happening, but if, you know, crazy things happen in the NBA, assuming that window closes, like the fact that your window opens with Kuminga, Moody, and James Wiseman, that's a fantastic place to be. Then Otto Porter, my God, like what a pickup for them, man. As your Kelly Oubre replacement, you go from Kelly Oubre, who damn was trash from three, at least at the beginning of last NBA season, to Otto Porter, who is, the dude's a sniper out there, right? Making a fit in instantly, and I really like it a lot, man. And the B-Elites is fine too. So yeah, I thought they did fantastic. Okay, next up we have the Houston Rockets with Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Usman Garuba, and Josh Christopher. Free agency, they got Daniel Tyson, David Nwaba, traded for nobody, lost Kelly Olynyk and Sterling Brown. I am going to give them an A-, and the heavy thing leaning into that is their draft. This team absolutely killed it in the NBA draft. All these guys I see as role players. I thought Josh Christopher was an absolute steal at number 24. Sengun, a steal at 16 based off his first Summer League game at least. You know, I'm going to say with the exception of Jalen Green, the other guys probably will not see the court too much next season with having some of the other vets out there, but definitely setting them up for a very bright future. So, yeah, I really like what the Houston Rockets did. And then Daniel Tice, he'll be decent next to Christian Wood regardless. So, yeah, man, there we go. Next up, we have the Indiana Pacers. And with the Pacers, they drafted Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson. Free agency, they got TJ McConnell back. I'm going to give this a D-. I am not impressed with what the Pacers did this offseason. Chris Duarte, I thought, was a very weird draft pick considering some of the depth at the guard spots for the Indiana Pacers. But not only that, the Pacers kind of seem to be like up in this dilemma of not knowing, should we go to a rebuild? Should we compete? Are we just going to be like an average team that can maybe win a playoff series? Well, that's about it. And definitely did nothing for a rebuild because Chris Duarte is like 24 already, man. Like one of those really old rookies. So was not happy with their offseason. I love they got TJ McConnell back. That's really good. He's one of the most underrated players in the NBA. But, yeah, they didn't really do too much. So maybe just getting healthy will be enough. And, you know, that can be a good thing, too, having Rick Carlisle as their new head coach. Okay, for the LA Clippers, they got Keon Johnson, Jason Preston, and Brandon Boston Jr. Then they got Nicholas Batum and Kawhi Leonard re-signed with the team. I didn't know if he actually officially re-signed or not, but I guess he did. So I'm going to give them an A-. Keon Johnson was a steal at 21, and they defaultly go up to A- because getting Kawhi Leonard back, not knowing what he was going to do, is a big-time W and definitely saves them from a very hard and long rebuild. The only thing keeping them from going to an A- to an A is that they didn't really get anybody else as far as veterans go, and you know, it still remains to be seen if this current squad is going to be enough to win them a championship, especially with Kawhi being out for much next season. Okay, for the Lakers, got a lot going on here. Drafted nobody, but they got Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, Kendrick Nunn, Carmelo Anthony, Malik Monk, Taylor Horton Tucker, and they trade for Russell Westbrook. And they obviously trade other dudes and lost free agents. For me, the Lakers get an A for an offseason. And the reason I say this is because despite what you want to say about the fit, you know, there's something to be said about the fit, but you still got LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like, things are going to work out. The fact that they were able to convince all of these veteran players to sign on minimum deals or small contracts, able to trade for a game changer, Russell Westbrook, you know, hate him or love him, Russell Westbrook is a game changer out there. Once again, I equate it to what the Bulls did. It's not a very deep free agent class, so being able to get somebody of Russell Westbrook's caliber, at least, I mean, because I didn't think they were going to win next season without going for a big name. So to me, this at least switches up the game a little bit, right? So yeah, man, I think they get an A. They did a good job. They got some shooters out there. I love all the signings for the Lakers. And trading for Russell Westbrook remains to be seen if we're going to like it or not. But hey, it's a chance that you want to take this late in LeBron James' career. Okay, Memphis Grizzlies, they got Ziaire Williams, Sante Aladama, and they also traded for Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. They lost Jonas Valanciunas via trade. I'm going to say probably a C-. A C-. Yeah, because Jonas Valanciunas is a beast. I think that he was a way better fit next to, you know, some of the young bloods on the Memphis Grizzlies than Steven Adams or Eric Bledsoe will be. Bledsoe will probably be bought out at some point or traded away. Ziaire Williams obviously could be a beast, but a lot of people said maybe a little bit of a reach at number 10. So maybe even somebody that they could have got, you know, without trading away Jonas Valanciunas. I think that was part of like the trade was the pick swap. So they probably could have kept Valanciunas and still ended up getting Ziaire Williams. But yeah, besides that, they didn't really do too much to add to the team. So pretty underwhelming offseason. Okay, next up we have the Miami Heat, and they drafted nobody. They got Jimmy Butler to the extension, Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, Victor Oladipo, Gabe, Max, and Dwayne Dedmon. And they traded for Kyle Lowry, and they lost Goran Dragic, Precious Achiuwa in the Kyle Lowry trade. I am going to give this an A-. I'm going to give this an A-, and that's more so, I'm even kind of teetering towards a B+. And the only reason I say that, man, is because it's definitely an all or nothing type of offseason where, you know, the Jimmy Butler extension and Kyle Lowry's contract, they are going to be paying these guys lots of money towards the end of those contracts. A lot of money, man. So, you know, it definitely is like a what can we do right now. So I'm going to say probably a B+, just because, you know, I wanted to obviously throw out some of that risk of those extensions. I mean, if they win a championship, it changes things up, but and they obviously got the names and personnel they wanted in getting Kyle Lowry, so that's always big. But B+ is definitely not like a knockoff on this team. They had a great offseason, and it remains to be seen if it's going to be worth it, though, in the long run, right? Okay, next up we have the Milwaukee Bucks, and they drafted two names I cannot pronounce. Bobby Portis, semi-eligible, George Hill traded for nobody, and they lost PJ Tucker and Bryn Forbes. I'm going to say overall probably a C+ offseason. I mean, they won the championship, so and they also was pretty locked up when it comes to their cap space anyway. I thought getting Bobby Portis to resign was a big-time W. He was a big part of the championship team. George Hill, I mean, is a good backup point guard, so he had some more depth to the squad. So, yeah, once again, a team that was pretty, you know, locked up cap space-wise. Not too much room to wiggle. But overall, they lost PJ Tucker, who's very old, and Bryn Forbes is like, you know, they're going to have Dante DiVincenzo getting those bids next season anyway, so I'm good with that draft grade. Okay, Minnesota Timberwolves, they traded Taurean Prince, and, no, they got Taurean Prince, and they got Ricky Rubio. This is an F. They didn't do anything for a team that should be doing something, at least addressing the power forward position. Hey, I like Taurean Prince. I don't know if he's the solution at the 4 spot. Yeah, they just didn't do anything. Like maybe I'll trade for Ben Simmons or something, but I say at this point, it's probably time to probably trade either Jarrett Culver or Malik Beasley and try to cash in on some of that stock right there. But, yeah, man, not happy with their offseason. Okay, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. They got Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, nobody via free agency, Jonas Valanciunas, Tomas Satoransky. And they also got Devontae Graham, losing Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, Lonzo Ball, and James Johnson. Overall, I'm going to give them probably a B. I feel like a B is pretty good. Jonas Valanciunas is actually a decent center to have next to Zion. I don't mind that whatsoever. I like Satoransky on the team. Trey Murphy could be an absolute beast, being a 6'8" shooting guard. And then Devontae Graham, I thought was a decent player to put alongside Zion over to Lonzo Ball. Obviously, Lonzo Ball is the better player, but the fact you lost him and you get Devontae Graham out of it, not really a bad route to go. And they didn't really lose too much. Adams and Eric Bledsoe were not good for the Pelicans, so I think it's mainly addition by subtraction. Okay, next up we have the New York Knicks. They drafted a whole bunch of guys, and free agency Alec Burks, known as Noel, Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker in the buyout deal on I believe it's a 1-year, $8 million contract, and they lost Reggie Bullock. To me, I'm going to say an A-. And the reason I say A- is because I think I initially actually liked some of their draft picks better before they started trading things around, stuff like that. Not saying they had a bad draft by any stretch of the imagination. I just would have liked seeing like Kai Jones on the team and stuff. I thought he was pretty decent. But the fact that they, you know what, I'm going to switch it to an A because they got Nerlens Noel back. Because, I mean, you got Noel, you already got Mitch Robinson, you don't really need Kai Jones. But getting Kemba Walker for essentially free is a big-time W, and Evan Fournier, I think, is a very underrated player. D-Rose re-signed. So, yeah, the Knicks had a really good offseason, and I think they addressed a lot of issues in the reasons they were eliminated from the playoffs, and that was having some additional, you know, go-to scorers outside of Julius Randle and Derrick Rose at times. So, love what they did. So, great offseason. Okay, next up we have the OKC Thunder, and they drafted Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, and other dudes. They traded away Kemba Walker via buyout, Derek Favors, and they lost Al Horford and Moses Brown. Obviously, yeah, Kemba was bought out. They got Derek Favors on the team. Overall, man, I'm going to give them probably a C+. And you think keeping it as a C+ is that I really think they had a pretty damn decent draft. Josh Giddey at number 6. You could be on either side of the fence saying that it was a reach, or maybe it's just the guy they wanted, which is completely fine. We didn't really see much of him in Summer League so far because of his injury. But outside of that, like Kemba Walker, I mean, not like a huge deal for them to lose him because obviously they're in a rebuild. So, yeah, and they got rid of Al Horford's contract, I guess, in the process of things, which I guess in theory was like an Al Horford buyout. But, yeah, man, pretty solid draft, though. I think that's really important for the OKC Thunder right now. Next up, we have the Orlando Magic and Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner. Free agents, they got Robin and Mo, and they lost Otto Porter. I am going to give them a I'm going to say a B plus, because Jalen Suggs being available at number 4, no, number 5. Yeah, that's incorrect. At number 5, nobody saw that happening. And then Franz Wagner, I mean, I like Franz. I'm a Michigan fan. I think he's pretty good. I know some people don't really like him that much, but I feel like Jalen Suggs was the big time steal where just the Magic were like, oh my God, this guy is available. Perfect for a rebuild. No, they didn't really trade for anybody or get anybody too crazy in free agency, but once again, a rebuilding team. So the important thing to grade their offseason is how they do via the draft. And I think they absolutely nailed it, man. Maybe they could have got somebody else over Franz, but I think Franz is a good jack of all trades type of guy. Okay, for the 76ers, they drafted a whole bunch of dudes. They got guys like Andre Drummond via free agency. I am going to give them a B minus. And the reason I'm keeping them just above average, I felt like Jaden Springer was a steal at 28. And then even again, Andre Drummond, I don't know what his contract is exactly, but you lost Dwight Howard, you replace him with Andre Drummond. Drummond's not going to play with Joel Embiid. The fact that Drummond's your backup center is not a bad place to be. But the B minus essentially is because they didn't really take care of the Ben Simmons drama yet. This is definitely a team whose grade could significantly change based off what happens there. And, they didn't really add too much to the team either. So we'll kind of see how things go for them next season. But the big thing here is going to be what happens with Ben Simmons. That's going to determine essentially their offseason. Okay, next up for the Phoenix Suns campaign, Chris Paul, JaVale McGee, Abdel Nader, and they got Landry Shamet, lost Javon Carter, and Torrey Craig. I am going to give them an A. This is a team that competed for the championship last season. They got Chris Paul to resign. Campaign's back on a really nice contract. They addressed their, big guy depth by getting JaVale McGee on a $5 million deal. Landry Shamet, I think, could be a rotational piece for this team. They put themselves in a good place. I don't think it's a squad that needed to do anything too crazy outside of re-signing their guards, and they did that. So, yeah, great offseason for them. Okay, Portland Trailblazers. Drafted Greg Brown, got Cody Zeller, Norman Powell, Tony Snell, traded nobody. This is, I hate to say it, man, it's an F offseason. This is not what you needed to do to keep Damian Lillard happy. I'm huge on Greg Brown. I feel like Greg Brown could be like a prototype new age Amari Stoudemire in the NBA. I really believe that. But you got some of the most average players in Cody Zeller and Tony Snell. You got nobody else. You lost Carmelo Anthony, who's not indicated on here. They lost him. Zach Collins is gone, wasn't really playing that much. Enes Kanter, I'm okay with that. Did not really address any of the wants of Damian Lillard. And I'm sorry, but I don't want Damian to request a trade. But if he does, it's at the point where management has to say and the fan base has to blame management and say, hey, you kind of did that to yourself. So, yeah, horrible offseason for Portland. I was expecting so much more. Next up, we have the Sacramento Kings, who drafted Davion Mitchell and this other dude. Free agents, they got Mo Harkless, Alex Len, Rashawn Holmes, re-signed Terrence Davis, and Tristan Thompson in a trade. Lost DeLon Wright. I'm going to say overall, probably a C+. Not like an extremely... I'm going to say B-. And the reason I say B- is because I didn't think Rashawn Holmes is going back to the team. So they got him back. Davion Mitchell, I think, is going to be a good backup for this team. But I was still a little confused by the pick. Just I think there was other, circumstances and other spots of this roster this team really needed to focus on. Davion, I think, could be a future starter in the NBA. Got to see what happens with Marvin Bagley, obviously. But, yeah, C+, B- kind of what I'm leaning towards, too, for this team. San Antonio Spurs, they got Josh Primo. They got this Joe guy. Free agency, Doug McBucket, Zach Collins, Bryn Forms, Jock Landale. Traded for Chandler Hutchinson. Okay, they lost Rudy Gay and Patty Mills. So I'm going to give them probably, and they also lost DeMar DeRozan, obviously. I'm going to give them a C+. And the reason I'm giving them a C+ is because they are finally kind of leaning more into a rebuild and getting rid of some of the veteran guys, which is going to free up more minutes. So, based off what they should be doing, they're kind of nailing it in that regard, where it's like, okay, we're not signing old players anymore. C+ feels good. I like Josh Primo could be interesting. I think Chandler Hutchinson could really be a big part of this team right here, man. That feels about right. And some of the free agency guys they got are going to be interesting at least, right? They got Bryn Forbes back, which is kind of cool. We got the Toronto Raptors, got Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr. re-signed, Sam Decker. They also got Goran Dragic, Precious Achiuwa. They did trade away Kyle Lowry. I thought getting Dragic, obviously he'll probably be gone or traded, or maybe he plays. I don't really know. But Achiuwa I thought was pretty decent to get over just losing Kyle Lowry for nothing. And then Scotty Barnes looks fantastic in Summer League. I'm going to give them probably, I'm going to say an A-. I love the Gary Trent Jr. re-signing. And Scotty Barnes, I mean, they went full-on confidence in this kid right here, man. He looks like he might pan out. I'm going to say A-. They didn't really address the center position. I mean, I don't really think Achiuwa is ready to go all that much. And so they got Chris Boucher out there, but I think to get to address the center position, they will probably go about to an A if they can do that. Utah Jazz, Jared Butler, they got Mike Conley back, Hassan Whiteside, Rudy Gay. They also trade for Eric Paschal. I thought it was pretty solid free agency for them, man. I'm gonna say probably a B+. I like some of the I like the re-signing of Mike Conley. Jared Butler, I think will be the starting point guard eventually for this team the next few seasons. Hassan Whiteside, Rudy Gay, two nice veterans. They did lose Derek Favors, but that's not that big a deal when you got Hassan Whiteside backing up. And I love the Eric Paschal trade. So yeah, that feels about right for a grading for them, man. Pretty solid. And then last, but certainly not least, but sort of, we have the Washington Wizards, who drafted Corey Kispert, Isaiah Todd, nobody via free agency, and they got Kyle Kuzma, Montrez, KCP, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Aaron Holiday, and they trade away Russell Westbrook. I'm going to give them probably like, I'm going to say like a B. And the reason I say that is because Russell Westbrook's like contract was kind of sought to be like maybe untradeable to some extent. And they were able to kind of flip it for some really good players, man. Like, these are all going to be guys that can play next to Bradley Beal. And I do think it's an addition by subtraction because Russell Westbrook, the plus-minus with him and Bradley Beal on the court was not good. Kuzma hopefully gets a chance to do some stuff. Montrezl Harrell adds a new dimension to the center position. They got Daniel Gafford, who I like a lot. Hopefully that means Thomas Bryant's probably gone. And KCP, I mean, he's a solid 3-and-D player. So, and then obviously Dinwiddie is going to be a great for the point guard spot. So, really not a bad offseason, man, for the Washington Wizards if you think about it. Addition by subtraction with the Russell Westbrook trade. But yeah, those are my grades. I didn't think heavily about them, like literally did it off the top of my mind. So if you disagree, that's completely fine. I could probably be convinced over it to change my grading up or something like that. But that's all we got for this video, man. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to drop that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace out, my friends.